Hi, my name's Michael, and today we're going to be talking about achievables and how these little nuggety bites of goodness can make a big difference to those small moments in your life. Imagine a scenario where you go to the doctor's. You arrive 10 minutes early and you move to the waiting room. In the waiting room, you grab out your phone, you start to scroll through some news sites, maybe some social media, looking to fill in the time until you are seen. That 10 minutes turns into 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour. As the time goes on, you begin to realize that perhaps this could have been better used, or you could have been better planned for this. This is where the world of achievables starts to take place. Achievables are pre-planned. That means that you have a list of options that you take with you and review regularly. When those moments become available, you can consider this list and look to use things that are of benefit or of greater meaning to you. What this will help you to do is to stay away from defaults or simply this idea of just filling in time. Again, it works a bit as a productivity tool, but really it's going to have an advantage in terms of how you feel about all of those moments that could be better used simply through having the right options presented to yourself so you can take the corresponding action. So when we consider our achievables, what we're looking to do is start to think about how these might work in the space of time. For example, if you have a goal, then the accumulation of smaller parts will help lead to that goal. Same if you have a project. What are the smaller tasks that actually add up to allow you to work towards that project and to accomplish that project? All of these things are designed to help you be more deliberate in your approach. Being deliberate simply means that you are in control. It's not a matter of just resorting to a default or considering that 5 minutes might not be enough time to actually achieve anything, or 10 minutes for that matter, each of which, when they add up over the day, can be things that are very usable and should be usable to you through that pre-planned organisation. The way in which achievables work best is to consider tasks that can move from a 5-minute task into a 10-minute task or longer as time allows. So for instance, if I have 5 minutes available to myself, I can pick up a guitar and play through a song. If that time becomes longer, I can then repeat that process, perhaps focusing on aspects of the first time playing through that didn't quite get right, or simply warming more into that activity, potentially finding other songs that I can learn or play as part of that. Now, with each of these things, it's starting to identify the moments in which you are able to do this. It could be those exciting moments where you're just waiting for the washing machine to finish before you hang up the washing. Those 5 minutes could be a crucial time to pick up that knitting and just see if you can get another row done. Whatever it might be, it's looking at how you can be deliberate in using that time, not simply just waiting, because those 5-minute accumulations will add up. And if it just so happens that you chose a longer cycle than you realized, then that 5 minutes becomes 10 minutes, becomes worthwhile using. There are also going to be times where those 5 minutes, 10 minutes actually become a much larger chunk of time. It could be a full day, it could be an afternoon, it could be an evening. By having ideas of what it is that you would like to do in advance, it actually makes it easier to take the actions that are going to reinforce that. Rather than simply finding I have an evening available to myself, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to flick through, I'm going to try to find something to watch, and by the end of the evening, don't really feel like I've used that time as wisely as I could. With each of these, again, I want to reinforce that there is an element of productivity that comes within it, but essentially we're just putting ourselves more in control of our own decision-making process through having these options ready for us to work through. These options work best if they're aligned with either our current situation, our goals, our projects, or things that we'd just like to achieve or enjoy doing. So what is the purpose of having achievables? Really, we're trying to avoid misachievables. Now, misachievables are things that can be really useful to us if and when we are deliberate about using them. Therefore, things such as using social media to get in contact with others is a good thing when we are deliberate about its use. When we use social media as a default because we have time to fill, then it doesn't quite often work in the same way. This can be a whole range of things. And going back to my earlier example of the guitar, if I'm picking up the guitar and playing that as a default and not really being deliberate about what I'm doing when there is something else that I could be doing, then potentially this can become a misachievable as well. It's about recognizing where you were mindful in what you were doing. Yes, we can very easily get lost in a flow of internet videos, going down that rabbit hole. What we want to do is make sure that when we have these opportunities where we want to be productive, where we want to be beneficial, then we can use those. There'll be some evenings where actually those internet rabbit holes are the best thing that you can do. Then you are deliberate about your approach to these. Be aware of these things, and it will make a big difference and actually improve the way that you feel about how you use your time. Remember to review your achievables regularly. It's really important to help keep them foremost in your mind, and so that you can be mindful in the activities that you engage into. You'll find over time there's naturally a bit of a decline or a dip if you don't regularly review these, or the fact that actually some of these projects will be accomplished and you will need to have new things that go onto this list. Giving yourself a really diverse range of things that can either be done at home or when you're out, when that time arises, is going to be the most beneficial way of being able to help yourself fully get the most out of these achievables. Finally, it's not necessary that we are productive 100% of the time. And to a certain extent, the achievables help us to be more mindful and more deliberate in those moments that become available to us. That is the intent of it. So if you're finding that these things are taking over, then just review again and see where your priorities align. With each of these, the more time that you spend practicing, they become habits. And again, that's why I say review regularly to make sure that they are the right habits that match both yourself and your situation to get the most from them. Have fun with them. Create that list of achievables, create that list of misachievables so you can begin to identify when you're engaging in with those and when you can set yourself on that right path. You'll find that it really makes a big difference in seizing all of those smaller moments.